Go Show with your hosts Matt McKeever and
Jeff Wybo. Hi.
And so, same time, just a different day because of the kind of the holiday seasons are fast approaching. So we figured we'd come to you live on Thursday. And so while we're waiting for the chat to fill up and wait for people to start asking us questions in the chat, make sure you smash that like button. But figured we'd talk about last Sunday was the Wybo Limo Tour.
Yes.
So it was number 7, right?
7th tour, and from what I heard from you guys and anybody attending, smashing success. Everybody gave me crazy positive feedback.
By far our largest attendance. Like
we had 29.
I think we were talking about like 29 people, right?
30 if you count Lance. Lance is important. Lance is our limo driver.
And he's been our limo driver every single time.
Yeah.
And so just as a side note, we're also trying out a new mic setup tonight, so hopefully that's working well. If you guys are having problems, let us know in the comment section. But
yeah, well, key a button if you can hear us well. So.
Yeah, but
how about H.
But our top technician, Adam Steeper, randomly interesting.
Here.
What's up, guys?
Checking in on everything, so say hi to him in the chat. But otherwise, kind of walk us through what sort of properties did we see and how did the limo tour?
Well, first of all, thank you to Phil Wybo and Lindsay Adams for helping out. My brother and another agent at the office here. Phil did a really good job. I know Friday, I think we talked about it on the Cashflow last week. We went out and we viewed all the properties, which helps immensely for us to like run the tour properly because we need to know what we're talking about, right?
And especially in Canada with winter, right? Like
snow.
We had to bring a snow shovel along, Phil.
Keys that break, doorknobs that
keys
fall
that are
off.
frozen.
Yeah, lock boxes that are frozen. Where's a lockbox? It just makes the whole experience kind of a bit smoother for you guys. So we do that before. Basically, then we came to the office early that day. We usually step off at noon, but I was here like 9:30 in the morning. I think you showed up around 10 something, and you did London on Fire podcast.
Yeah, so we actually have our On Fire podcast. So we were just doing like a little clip episode. Yeah. So just putting together a little 30-second to 3-minute tip from everyone that was attending the Wybo Limo Tour, so that was pretty cool. Yeah,
so as people arrived, they shot into the little office that we got in the back here.
Yeah.
Said a couple of things. You guys, you'll see this one in the upcoming.
Yeah, whenever in a couple weeks. This week's episode starred Jeff Wybo.
Nice.
So on this week's On Fire podcast, we dived into a bunch of Jeff's backstory, kind of talked about his approach to conscious consumption, it was actually pretty interesting. If you're not familiar with Jeff's backstory, I highly recommend you jump over to it because Jeff talks about
I'm not going to say it again. So.
Yeah, Jeff talks essentially about being financially independent, having bought a triplex, but then deciding to challenge himself to do more. So that was super cool, as well as talking about kind of some of the Army life hacks.
Yeah.
That to me was actually fascinating. I think far too few people get exposed to this information. Like when I was growing up, I didn't even there's no real comprehension, right? Like we never had people come to our school and explain anything about potential opportunities or anything like that. So I found it really cool that we're able to dive in.
Like that just kind of happened and you
learned it, right?
So there's probably people out there that have similar, maybe not military experiences, but something in their job and they know about a travel hack or something.
That makes for an interesting.
So reach out to us. Let us know. Maybe you'll be on the Fire podcast.
And so make sure if you are going to check out that podcast, you can find it on Stitchers, Google Play, or iTunes. Give us a written review. It really doesn't matter what you say in there, but just scribble some words, just mash the keyboard, let your cat type, I don't care. We just need written reviews and give us 5 stars because that really helps people find our podcast.
Right.
But sorry, not to interrupt back.
Well, so as people arrive, they were doing that and the day just starts. Everybody's talking, catching up. We had a lot of new faces. We had people coming all the way from about the Kitchener kind of area. We had Toronto area, Guelph, and then John Kepler, who's been on the Cashflow to Go show, came all the way from Owen Sound. So it was like everybody's like coming to London for the tour. We also teased like, should we do this in a different city at one point? So maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, and jump in the comment section and let us know what city would you love us to take our very first Wybo Limo Tour on tour with?
Not on tour, yeah. Oh, man. On tour.
Yeah.
Jeez. And we're not even drinking tonight. But so, and just a reminder, we also have the Cashflow to Go groups across southwestern Ontario right now. So we got Sarnia, Windsor, London, Kitchener, Toronto. So we're planning on going to Windsor and Toronto in the near future to meet up with everybody. But the limo tour started, everybody got on, it's packed. You'll see a video on my channel just kind of teasing what the day looks like. We go out, we see about 8 properties within the 4 hours. Lance gets us to each property. we stand up on the bus, on the limo tour bus, and we stand up and say, this is what you're going to go see. It's a triplex. It's making this much rent. I know the landlord. The landlord said this. He wants an offer of this. Blah, blah, blah. We usually have all the inside knowledge, right? So it usually helps out. Everybody gets out. We go look at it. Everybody gets back on. And it's usually a crazy day of like, let's go, you know, we got time, we gotta go see.
And I know one thing that like we occasionally hear from people is they don't actually even fully comprehend the full value from it, right? They're like, I can go look at these properties on my own.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like half the properties are kind of pocket listing, so you can't. But even if you could view them all on your own, it's more about like the networking, right? It's finding out, oh, that guy's got a really cheap handyman, or that guy's got a great painter, or she knows a great contractor, or roofer, or whatever the case is. And being able to pull from all those different resources and just keep building your network bigger and bigger.
And like, other landlords can be pitching their properties on the tour as well. Like you could be missing out on that if you're at home. So don't always think of it. There's a little bit of a monetary cost to come on it. It's a long day. It's like a good 5 hours of stuff.
Minimum.
So if you
and
want
that's
all
not
that
counting the debrief
from us for free, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We've given a lot for free.
I think that's one of those story not stories.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like, it's still affordable. It's a fun day. People coming in from out of town, they have no problem paying that because how do you crash course London in 4 hours? Boom, here you go. And then we do drive-bys a lot too. Like I'll know of some properties, but we can't get the whole tour in there, and I'll say, message me. We'll go see it on Monday, Tuesday, or something like that.
We probably drove by like 4 private listings, I think.
Exactly.
And there's a few that are actually interesting that we'll probably dig into personally later. But
then we hit up Stormstay.
So we checked out the newest brewery in London, Ontario, Stormstay, that's on Warncliffe South. So it's kind of really interesting. It's in between what's known as the Old South or Wortley Village here in London, Ontario, and kind of, I guess people are calling it Manor Park now. And Manor Park has for the longest time has stigma, not unlike the Old East Village or Soho neighborhoods, where there's just a stigma. Lots of Londoners that lived in London forever would never want to live there. They'd never buy there because they're thinking about what was 30 years ago rather than what was 30 days ago, right? And so that was really cool. We actually saw a bunch of, or at least a few properties in that area as well.
Yeah, and we don't normally go look at multifamily in that area. We saw off-market duplex and on-market large house that could be
huge single family.
So that was neat. We do that to like hit up. These are the places that your tenants are going to go for a drink, so it's kind of cool to like figure out what the demographic is in that area.
Well, and think about what a brand new microbrewery means to a neighborhood, right? Like it's not just a watering hole. It's not just a dispensary of alcohol. It's indicative of what's going on in that neighborhood, what's going on in that market. And so Wortley Village is already an extremely trendy neighborhood here in London, but adding a microbrewery and having that brewery be on the side of the street that's closer to Manor Park can really transition a lot of, or push a lot of, say, people that can't afford Wortley Village but want that Wortley Village atmosphere and lifestyle and access to a lot of the amenities, the little shops, the coffee shops, all that. Manor Park is probably going to be the play, I think.
Right. And then I teased a $3.2 million portfolio to the people on the Weibel limo tour. So if you're interested in something like that, I won't even like say all the data right now, but message me and we'll talk.
And what's actually interesting about that too is like it's extremely close to the 1% rule, so that's enticing for a lot of my viewers, I know.
Right. So don't think it's just one of Jeff's overpriced listings. We did that, and then at the very end, you guys did a full podcast with John Kepler, which will be upcoming.
Yeah, so that'll be the next couple of months.
And then we shifted over to Ale House. And met with Joe Kiefer, who's a mortgage broker, and a commercial appraiser, Ali. And basically, all the people on the tour could like pick the brain of a pretty good mortgage broker.
I'm sure Joe was probably exhausted by the end of it because he was talking nonstop because people were just hitting him.
I think I saw him with one beer that never went down.
Right.
So, and then he was very nice. He picked up all the food and drink.
So thanks.
Perks of the Weibel limo tour.
Right? So huge thanks to Joe for that.
Thank you, Joe.
And again, it's just kind of one of those signs, signs of people thinking long term, right? How many mortgages did Joe sign that night? 0. But the goodwill, the networking, all that's what the Weibel limo tour is. It's what
and we'll give a shout out to Spencer. He was on the tour as well too. Spencer's mortgage broker is usually
often
messaging
in the
in the chat. So. Yeah, but like that's the thing, and we're hopefully on the long term we're gonna be going to these businesses ahead of time and be like, hey, I got my tour. What can you do for us? So you're gonna feel a little VIP experience while you're on the tour. So you can just concentrate on looking at houses, and we'll take care of the hospitality of it, right?
Mm-hmm. And so, like, speaking of future tours, one thing we were talking about was whether we should start getting more thematic with our tours, because starting 2018, every single month until you guys get sick of us, we're going to be doing a Wild Limo tour.
Yeah.
So, you know, some thoughts we've been playing around with is the idea of like themes, like a student rental theme. Mm-hmm. So maybe we just go slowly look at student rentals, or maybe we even get more niche with it and look slowly at fan shop rentals, right? And do a separate Western rental. As well, we could look at larger multifamily, so anything that's bigger than a 4-plex or bigger than a 6-plex, we can start doing.
So again, let us know in the comments. And we've also, we talked about it last week. Do you guys want to workshop in the morning, and then we go out in the field on the tour? So we can be here at 8 in the morning. We can go over how to burr a property, and then we can go hit the field. So maybe that's a extra cost. We don't know how we're sorting it out. I know Randomly Interesting, I got to sit down with you. We're going to build a little online form so you guys can like pay and book your spots, because reserve it because think about it on mine, everybody messaging me Sunday morning being like, when I'm busy, and you're messaging me being like, hey, is there any more spots, or hey, I can't make it because I'm sick, and that's just logistic stuff I don't need on the day. Pretty much.
Well, and like this tour, we started capping out. I don't think you'd want much more than 29
we
people
were
on that level.
So. You know, some people were hungover, you know.
Looking at Randy, sorry about that one.
No, you were fine.
Otherwise, if you guys are watching this right now, jump in the comment section and start hitting us up with your questions, whether it's real estate investing, whether it's realtor oriented, and actually on the limo tour, we were kind of sharing some tips to an aspiring realtor, right?
Yeah, new realtor came, and she may have been thinking she was going one way with a brokerage that pitched her, and we kind of just honestly said, this is what we've been seeing in my career as a realtor, and then what you see as a buyer and seller.
And I think one of the biggest things that Jeff's always talking about is don't be fighting the last war, right?
Yeah, like exactly. She's like, oh, they have these systems in place and this and this and this, right? And it's like, okay, so you're just gonna like join the rat race?
Yeah.
So
and like what worked for old Gil will not necessarily work for you. Old Gil really needs that sale.
But like, it's so true. Like what Matt's saying, that old war, like so many people will go into battle fighting the previous war, like the American conflicts, anything. It's just, and you can just. And then so much in war is shifted to business. That's why like there is the Art of War, which is like the business book, right?
Yeah.
So.
Don't show up to World War I on a horse, is what we're saying.
Right, and then World War II, you go dig trenches, and they got you know, they're always like that. So, I just come up with something different all the time. You're a brand new agent. This is a tough business. There's lots of us out there.
Yeah, and
how many agents do you know? Like everybody's parent knows somebody, right?
Yeah, and it's a lot better to try something than have it not work out. You know, we tried the limo tour and it worked out fantastic until we doubled down on it. But had the Wild Limo tour not worked out, we would have just pivoted and started doing something else interesting, new, different.
Meetups in my office, and we just do workshop meetups.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? So.
Yeah, you gotta constantly be willing to reinvent yourself and push the envelope, because the established players are already established.
So, and what does that look like to you guys if you're trying to be a realtor, or if you're just trying to be a real estate investor and you're not in our city? Well, make your own meetup groups. Like, go to your Palisade that we have here.
Yeah, and feel free, if you want to start a meetup group and you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, DM us and we'll help you set up the Cashflow to go in your city.
We got the Cashflow to go, those little groups. We're building them slowly. We'll go visit them. We'll help out our guy that, like a chapter head kind of guy that we put in there. What's the monetary value for us? Nothing at this time. We're just planting seeds across Ontario, really.
And like one thing I think a lot of people overlook is, you know, the idea of setting up a meetup group. It's a bunch of work. It's a bunch of hassle. You're not going to get rewarded for it from day one. But what happens is once you become the hub, once you become the center focus of this group, everyone starts bringing their problems to you. And you've heard it 1,000 times on my channel by now, but I'm constantly talking about how problems are just an opportunity for profit.
But it's like, oh, but Matt and Jeff, I'm not good at real estate yet. You know, I can't do this. Well, do it, or we'll help you out, and then you don't even have to be the person that's answering all the questions. You're just going to get all the other landlords that come to the group, and other agents and everything, and then you're going to learn off them, and you're just the guy that booked the venue.
Yeah, like,
So-
you know, Joe who shows up day one of your first meetup is going to ask about student rentals. You know nothing about it, but maybe Jill has a student rental and you put the two of them together.
Yeah.
And they're both going to remember the fact that you connected them, right? Because you were the common denominator there. And that's what all of this is about. It's why we started the On Fire meetups, right? The London On Fire meetups, which is actually happening tonight. Yeah, I know, right? There's always more networking
Yeah,
out
so
there.
right after this, we're going down to Palisade. So if you're going to meet us at Palisade, make sure someone else is driving and you're still on stream while you're...
And be smashing that like button.
How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's going good. Yeah, a few people were asking if we're going to be at the meetup after the show.
Well,
I think you guys
signing autographs?
Yeah.
Jumping back, you guys were talking about where else you'd want to go for the Weibo limo tour when it goes on tour. Had some suggestions for Hamilton, Belleville, Brooklyn, New York, Kitchener and Waterloo.
Who was New York?
Levy?
Okay, I figured it was, yeah. Well,
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
yeah, you might have to help coordinate that with
Well,
us, though.
we would, like, maybe we can handle, like, the Southwestern Ontario ones, kinda, but, like, anything far, definitely we need a...
A local expert.
Yeah. Our
Kitchener,
man in Brooklyn.
yeah, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge is high on our list. It's a high priority. It's a very interesting market. You know, we already have some established connections there, and so we're very interested in doing that, as well as with Windsor and Sarnia are definitely on our short list.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be tons of fun.
Yeah, and I guess we'll have to determine if we want to do 12 in London next year, or that just means we're doing a limo tour.
Yeah.
So you could skip London, or you do London, and then you got to do another one the next weekend. See
Yeah.
how busy we get.
Yeah.
Because we got big plans for 18.
Yeah, actually, we were just looking at potentially a little development that we were considering building. So.
I think I'd look good as a developer, you know, just show up like this, put the hard hat on,
And just
looks
one
good.
shovel.
I do the ribbon cutting and
Yeah.
Our good friend Carlos is in here saying the hair's looking good. He said Matt looks like he's stepping
Hair
on his hair
squad.
game.
Hair squad.
Hair squad.
Comment down if you're part of Jeff Weibo Hair
Oh, I love
Right
that.
on. So we've got 18 viewers right now, 10 likes. So
yeah,
That's
so
not
we
bad
can-
because we're on Thursday. Too.
Yeah, so definitely feel free to smash the like button if you're currently watching and you haven't smashed it. As well as jump in the comment section. This is your chance to ask us one-on-one. These days, there's just too many DMs, too many emails for us to respond to every single one.
I don't know if she's on, but a girl was asking me this morning on Facebook Messenger. It's all these platforms, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and it was basically like, Jeff, when did you buy your first property? How much money did you put down? I was like, well, just come on the Cashflow The Go Show and follow our YouTube channels. All those answers are there. And we joked today we're gonna do a frequently asked question video, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just to like send you guys over there, because I guess for long-term viewers, you don't want to hear those answers every week, right? So you're like, we know we got 80 tenants.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Exactly, right. So otherwise, I guess talking about what's new in real estate.
Yeah.
It was interesting. We were at the Lyric meetup, which is another local real estate investing meetup, and two investors were debating about what the market's going to look like June over June.
With like, it's gonna rain tomorrow in my bones.
Yes.
Kind of a feeling.
And so the bet was whether it increased 3% year over year from June 2017 to June 2018, and it was very interesting to see the tables read on it.
You quickly get a little not nervous, but you're like, oh. Like,
well, actually used to like.
They put you on the spot, and like, what do you think? You over there?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and so it was interesting to see that it was Mike McCracken versus the world. So it seemed
he
like
was at the 3%
or less.
or less.
Yeah, he was betting on 3% or less.
And then I was like at like almost 9 or 10, I thought.
Yeah. Well, and same with another real estate agent, Jim was also very bullish. Yeah, and same with obviously Dave took the bet, so he thought he was
So
going to
you're
win.
just going with the safe 5, right? And safe 6.
Well, I'm supposed to be the judge for some reason, so not sure how that happened.
What was the bet?
It was for a $25 beer. I think that they have it at
the monk.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So they're always betting that as their little friendly wager. But it was really interesting to see because these are two real estate investors that essentially have very similar profiles, and they work in the same, they work for the same company in similar roles, expose the same information, yet they came to two very different conclusions based on pretty much the exact same set of facts.
I just love it because growing up, the only bets I would have is if the Leafs are going to make it to the second round or the first round. It's pretty cool that.
And you always lost those.
Always lost those. Always. But you had to bet.
Those damn Montreal Canadian fans.
But our just network of people, and It's just real estate bets now.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, you maybe start off casually just chatting, but when it always comes back to business, to a side hustle, to a grind.
Well, that's why we go to these meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. So I don't know, what are we saying? Any questions?
Yeah, we've got 5 or 6 here queued up.
Interrupt us.
And so let's start with a new one, a usual one, I guess. This is for a first-time investor. So I'm 17, I want to get into real estate. Where should I start? So someone that's maybe a little bit younger than what we've answered this question before in the past.
So I'll jump in to start with, obviously being 17, you are fighting an uphill battle, but what's great is time is on your side. And a lot of people don't, you know, you get impatient because you're young and you don't realize that there's a lot of time out there and it's on your side right now. So like use your downtime instead of like going to just high school parties all the time or just playing video games till your eyeballs bleed. You know, listen to some podcasts. Bigger Pockets is fantastic. If you're only going to listen to one podcast that isn't my YouTube channel or my podcast, I'd say make it Bigger Pockets. And it's honestly the best real estate investing platform that there is right now on the internet, so definitely become a member of Bigger Pockets. And another great idea is like find a mentor in your local market. So, you know, it's going to be difficult for you as a 17-year-old to literally go out there and start closing deals, particularly if you're by yourself, if you don't have, say, a relative or a parent or a mentor support. So I would say find a mentor, find someone that's actively doing what you want to do, someone that is who you want to be, and find a way to give them some value. Find a way to meet up with them, just have a coffee, do whatever is necessary to get that meeting, because once you get in front of like-minded people, a friend of ours, Dylan, often uses a very cliche term now, but like recognizes like, or real recognizes real. And so the idea is that, you know, the moment we meet someone that's really young, hungry, and excited, and we met a few of them on the limo tour actually last weekend, it's just like, you want to help these people, right? Like, you just recognize yourself in that person, and I see it all the time when people come out to London on Fire. And often, like, these days I keep trying to limit the amount of time I'm spending, you know, outside of my YouTube and content creation, helping people simply because there's a finite amount of hours in the day. But like, once I meet someone in real life, it's really hard to say no when they want more advice, more help, more guidance. So I think that like finding a mentor and just acquiring as much information and knowledge
like
at 17
little
is
things like, I think, I'm sure all your friends now are probably going off to university or college. They can probably rent houses and stuff like that. Well, instead of asking like, where are you going to the bar tonight, just always be asking like, well, what are you guys paying for rent here? And like, you go to the next house party and like ask that question. You know? Like you're gonna slowly start figuring it out.
And like, you know, don't be afraid to be that unusual 17-year-old. Like, when you are going to university or college or moving out of your home, like, chat up your new landlord. Find out their backstory. You know, a lot of landlords are, you know, baby boomers. They're approaching retirement. And so there's huge opportunities there. Maybe there's an opportunity for a vendor take back or a management split or all sorts of other approaches.
The mentor or so many things, right? When you hear like, oh, my landlord sucks, like, well, what's his name? And maybe give him a call. Like, when you're at a party, right? Like, something like that.
Absolutely.
And then be like, can I grab coffee with you? You know, stuff like that. Like, those are easy things to do, right?
There's a lot of potential there.
Try to do something every day that's going to get you to this goal. I don't know if that's
a great point.
Starting a YouTube channel early, or if that's posting on Instagram, or if that's reaching out to a landlord, or checking the MLS, whatever, reading the books, reading the podcasts, everything. So,
absolutely.
You'll be miles ahead because
like when you start,
like I don't think until 25. Like I was probably seeing college students that were renting and didn't really clue in that these people are real people, these landlords making this money, because they were just fictional characters.
Right,
when you would just show up at rental houses and cardboard was on the ground and beer pong was going on, right? So, like, oh, okay, poor guy.
And like I really didn't start reading about real estate either until I was probably 21, 22, and didn't really start reading hardcore into it until I was around 24. So, you know, at 17, you have a huge advantage to acquire a lot of information. So, do it.
People are younger and younger. Like,
I love it though. It's so cool. Like, you know, sometimes you're like, damn, why wasn't I smarter when I was younger? But hindsight.
Passing it on now. So
cool. Okay, so we've got a question from our good friend, Financial Therapy MIT CPA.
What's up, Mitt?
Since minimum wage is going up in the new year, there's going to be quite a bit of inflation. Do you think we'll see rising rents as a result?
That's interesting. No one's asked us that question. I haven't even heard a lot of people talk about it. So the idea, just kind of break down what Mitt's talking about, is the idea that our minimum wage is eventually working its way up to $15 an hour from like 11 or 12 bucks, I think, currently. So that's going to create, like, let's say it's 12 bucks right now. I don't know if this is a fact, and it's going up to 15. That's essentially a 25% increase in what the base living wage is, right? And so presumably the average person usually spends 30 to 40% of their income for housing. So you would think that person that's, say, making $12 an hour and working 2,000 hours a year, they're making $24,000 a year. Where the moment they go up to 15 bucks an hour, they're now making $30,000 a year. So arguably, you know, if we take 30% of that 6,000 difference, we're all of a sudden talking about, you know, $2,000 more they could spend per year on renting. So the question here is everyone going to start spending proportionately more on their housing? So that $2,000, you know, per year, that we're talking, you know, just under 200 bucks a month. That's a very interesting.
The guy paying
idea.
16 bucks or getting 16 bucks right now,
He's getting screwed.
they get screwed, right? So then his buying power is worse,
Assuming that, yeah, that these $15 an hour guys start
right?
using
And
it
then where
towards.
anybody with that is worse up and down. That's why like this minimum wage is it's debatable.
It's a
right?
very complicated subject.
I saw that 2018 the rental increase in Ontario is 1.8.
Yes, yes.
So I think it was 1.5 in 17.
1.5 or 1.7, yeah.
It's always so small. Okay, so it's 1.7 up to 1.8. So like, what's inflation at these days? 2?
What's real inflation?
Right,
versus
so,
government. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess even on Mitt's question, it would have to be during a vacancy that we could shoot it up anyways. So.
Yeah, but it is a really interesting concept, is particularly if you are renting, say, to C and D class tenants in C and D class neighborhoods, because you're usually dealing with people that are just on assistance or barely getting by, they're making minimum wage. So that is interesting. We definitely could see, say, in London, Ontario, where kind of our low end of the range is maybe around $500-600 for a bachelor or a really small one bedroom. It wouldn't seem unfeasible to me that you could see, you know, an argument of that being bumped up to maybe $550 to $650, right? It's not going to change drastically the landscape, in my opinion. But I actually think that's a fantastic question. That's very interesting.
It'll probably take a while for most landlords to catch up.
Yes, absolutely. Which again, information asymmetry, there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think this is a unique question. I don't think we've done this on the show yet, but hey guys, can you do a quick analysis for my real estate deal? I'm looking at buying a place for $140. It's a duplex.
Paper?
I can give you the high level numbers.
140 duplex.
Purchase for $140. It's a duplex. It can gross about $1,300 per month. It's a 5% down. What do you think? It sounds like one unit's fully rented for $550. The other runs for around $800 to $750. I guess, what do you think of the deal? He figures it's only going to cash flow about $200 a month. Do you think it's worth it?
So that sounds interesting. It definitely sounds like it's in line with a lot of the metrics we look for, or a lot of the investors we know. So 1% rule is a huge thing for us. So, you know, the 1% rule would tell me if I'm buying a property for $140,000, I'd like to get around $1,400 a month in rent. So I guess a few things that you just want to get a firm understanding of. I'm assuming that $1,300 a month in rent you're getting is all inclusive. If it's plus utilities, that would start to tip it more and more into the good deal frame of mind, in my opinion, versus if it's you're paying for utilities, then, you know, it's maybe going a little bit the other way.
It sounds like the closing costs are going to be paid for too. Maybe that's a package deal.
Oh, okay, interesting. And so I'm assuming since you're putting 5% down, it's kind of a principal residence play. In Canada, if you're buying a duplex, you only have to put 5% down.
If you're moving in, yeah, principal residence.
If you intend to, yeah. And so otherwise, you know, I guess the other factors are, is there any significant deferred maintenance? Because sometimes the reason you're getting a deal on the property is because there's a ton of deferred maintenance, and so you should be factoring that in. And then, I don't know, what else do you think a person should consider if they're looking at 130 or 140,000 duplex that's about the 1% rule?
Just like if it's an appreciating area.
Yeah, and I guess, are those market rents? Are those rents indicative of what other properties are getting in your area?
And are you moving into one and it's vacant and you have to do that and they've just told you this is what the rent is? Because that can be written in the description.
Yes.
Rent's for this much. And you're
well,
like,
and we often see people get cute with the rents, and there's a spectrum of what cute mean. So like it can mean saying what theoretically can be done with the property. I'll give that a certain, whatever, maybe theoretically it can do that. Then there's people stating what it is getting, but maybe they're renting it out to a relative or a friend and it's inflated rent. And so that can be another risk. On the flip side, maybe the rents you're looking at are under market value, in which case you can bump them up and actually get more money out. The only other thing I think you really need to consider is what's your long-term plan for real estate investing? Does this duplex fit into the long-term, the 5 or 10 year plan? If you don't have a 5 or 10 year plan, first of all, don't panic, but I think it's worth considering. A lot of us get into real estate investing without having a firm 5-year plan. I had a rough, I didn't have a roadmap, but I kind of had the general direction I was headed in. I'm not sure, Jeff.
One at a time. Yeah.
One at a time.
First was like a lifestyle thing anyways.
Yeah.
Live for free. Cool. Sounds great. So.
And so I guess the other thing is, how close is this property to where you live? If you're moving into it, how easy is it going to be managed? Are you dealing with the bottom of the barrel tenants, or these solid tenants that live there a while?
So all the regular.
A lot of situational stuff, but on the surface,
number-wise, it sounds pretty close.
Yeah, it sounds like definitely worth digging.
And if you've looked at 100 of these and this is the best you can get, well, maybe this is the best right now in your city. Yeah, and one thing we were talking about actually on the limo tour this weekend to a couple that was looking to get into real estate investing is there's nothing wrong with not having your first deal be perfect, right? Yeah. A lot of people get caught up, they watch my video or other real estate investing videos and they think they need the perfect deal the first time. They need to be able to burn and get 100% or more of the money out. They need to get above the 1% rule. They need to get everything a deal. They need to negotiate every aspect of the deal. But there's nothing wrong with breaking even or doing okay or good enough on your first deal and looking at it essentially as tuition, right? You spend a ton of money to go to school to learn a trade or a skill, and yet a lot of people think that the very first time that they do real estate, they should become rich. And not only rich, but usually rich quick. Right. So remember, just get close and pull the trigger.
Yeah, ready shooting, as Jeff's always saying.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a question from Afro Sushi. He's got kind of a two-part question.
Subscribe today. It might be, I think it's a girl.
Okay, I don't know.
We'll smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you start to hit.
I told her to sub yours.
Okay.
So do you guys buy properties as a group? And the second question, actually, a few people have asked this tonight, is also what's the typical ROI you guys aim for? A few people have had different iterations of the same question there. So
we've done joint ventures before, I have at least, and we're constantly looking. That's the only way we can grow, right? So I think at first you either buy that little duplex, maybe that student rental, and then where we're at now, we're looking at a joint venture development pretty much, and then that's how it kind of evolves. Even we had a guy in the office yesterday, and he's like, I just want to buy the first one, then the second one, then the third one, then the 10th one, and it's like, okay. What if maybe, what's your goal? Maybe you just want to buy a giant multifamily and call it a day.
Yeah.
And he was kind of taken back by that. Nope, I want to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and then get into big. And I'm like, well, was that the tuition? Or because he was claiming he had a lot of money. So just kind of feeling it out, why are you doing this? So anyways,
joint ventures are very powerful. At the end of the day, the whole point of real estate, the reason a lot of us are attracted to it is because of leverage.
Right.
Leverage is other people's money. Right? So whether it's other people's money via the bank, through private lenders, or through joint ventures, that's still what it all boils down to, is us using leverage to control a larger asset base than we otherwise could in order to get a higher return on investment based on what we're actually investing in. As far as ROI goes, there's a whole host of different ways to measure it. I actually had a video come out earlier this week talking about some of the different metrics people use. So a common one that we often hear is cash flow per door, right? So a return on investment a lot of people focus on is maybe $100 or $200 per door per month they want cash flow. So what that means is a duplex, they want $400 a month in cash flow. Whereas, say with sixplex, they want $1,200 a month in cash flow. So that's one metric you can use. Our back of the envelope, we mentioned earlier, the 1% rule is just a great way to get a rough idea of whether the property is going cash flow or not. Cap rates. Cap rates are another great measurement of the return on the underlying asset. And so what's great about cap rate, and again, I discussed this in my video earlier this week, check it out if you haven't watched it, but the whole point of a cap rate is you're looking at a property as if there's no debt involved whatsoever. So all the debt servicing costs are set aside, and you're looking purely just at the property itself, essentially as if you bought it in cash. And the reason that's important is, you know, as real estate investors, there's all sorts of little ways we can play games with the financing, right? Oh, I don't like the cash flow on this property. So instead of a 20-year amortization, I'm going to go 30-year amortization.
Yeah.
Or I don't like my projections on this property.
Vacancy rate.
Yeah, it'll never be vacant because I'm a really good manager. And like, maintenance is going to be really low because I'm really cheap, so don't worry about that. And I'm not even going to have a property manager because I'm just going to do it myself. And like, it's fine to do that, but the thing is, your lifestyle may change in the future, so it's nice to build those buffers in, so that when it actually comes down to maybe transitioning to the next level, whatever that is, whether that's early retirement, or stepping up to managing your properties full time, or to never managing a property again, it's just nice to build buffers in. And so that's what Jeff's talking about: vacancy rates, property management, and just kind of your maintenance costs. So like a cap rate, you know, in London, Ontario, we were talking about it at Lyric actually a couple nights ago, and guys were talking about what is a good cap rate in London these days. And so kind of the common consensus was 6 to 8 is getting pretty common these days. You know, not too long ago, 2 years ago, you'd be like 10 cap or bust. I'm not interested in anything unless it's 10 cap.
Well, it's depressing if you look back on the MLS.
On everything that you coulda, shoulda, woulda, yeah.
You're like, what? The 3% rule.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that definitely comes with hindsight. So, you know, cap rates, I'm usually chasing something above an 8 cap rate. Usually try and focus on a 10 cap. But the thing is, then once you burr it, if you're looking at what the underlying assets value has changed to, then I'm getting much closer to a 6 or 7 again. So that's just something to take into consideration as well. I think that covers a lot of it. I don't know.
Like, just start off with positive cash flow.
So like when you bought your property in Alberta, Jeff, what made you decide it was a good deal? Like, what was
the cash flow?
Yeah. And so was that like
and the potential for some appreciation, but that is Alberta, up and down market, but the cash flow.
Yeah. And so what was the cash flow on it?
It was a good $1,000 a month.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah. And that was a single family?
No, it's duplex with a garage. The garage is like $300 rented.
Oh, shit, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It's something like $1,600 and $300.
Is it detached or attached?
No, it's like up down.
Or sorry, the garage.
The garage is detached. Yeah, all in like Alberta, it's those detached garages with those back laneways.
Oh,
so some back laneway guy could
Gotcha.
like put his boat in there and call it a day with no hydro. I can't even remember. Maybe there's hydro. But like $300 every month, and that's like off of like a residential lease. That's just like a contract between the landlord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
cool.
It was like easy money every
Yeah.
month. So I was like, okay. And then at that time of my life, that was great. Again, I didn't have a network like this. I didn't have a YouTube people to talk to. Like maybe that was out there, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of going off of who was around me.
Yeah.
Just kind of like how you guys might be going off who's around you right now. So
yeah.
Hopefully it's us.
Yeah. Good point. Cool.
Right on. So we got about 20 minutes left. We got 24 viewers and 17 likes right now.
Jeez.
Thank you guys. Feel free to share this. But 24
Thursday.
is actually awesome for a Thursday. We really appreciate it. And also,
and your board subscribe to me too.
Yeah. We're trying to get Jeff to 500. He's at like 567. I'm going to assume 568 by now. But anyways, if you're enjoying this video, but let's say you're not able to watch it live because you're on the West Coast, comment on this video and let us know, because we're open to maybe playing around with the timing of these videos as well. Yeah. It's just, we need feedback. So give us the feedback and we'll react.
Because, you know, 2:30 on Friday night, then we still have a life Friday night.
It's nice for us. But I'd be willing to sacrifice it once a month.
I'm pretty sure like Kellen would just be watching us at his work anyways.
Yeah.
It's 2:30 in Eastern Standard Time. Nice. Everybody who has a job. Yeah, because maybe you guys are getting home from work. Could you?
I'd be at work. I don't know.
See,
you could be doing.
But I was thinking the opposite though. We probably start going later, right? So the West Coast can catch us.
So we'll just spend Friday night in here.
7:30.
Alright, we'll order pizza.
Well, like do it once a month. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Let us know. Maybe there's no demand, in which case we won't have to ruin Jeff's poor Friday nights, where he sits at home and thinks about Saturday's Leafs game or what do you do on Friday night.
Just watch Netflix.
Sure.
The clients stop calling about. It's funny, investors. You guys leave me alone about Friday night till Sunday. You get a little stir crazy, and then it's for the Monday rush, I guess. But, like the residential clients like occupy me on the weekends, but like when do we ever go look at properties on the weekends? Not too.
Yeah, not too often.
Except for the Weibo limo.
And part of it's because it's also easier to view it on a weekday for us because we can go during the
today
day.
We saw 2 at lunch today. literally got it done in like, well, if we really wanted to, we could have gotten both done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, in
we
and
just
out
talked
fast.
it.
Yeah.
Right on. So we got a question from Hustle Life. Where do you think is a good area to buy my first rental property in London with a $200,000 budget?
Very specific, I like that.
Okay.
So I think you're probably going to hear us reiterate a lot of the neighborhoods we always talk about, right? So I think, top of mind is the Old East Village or the Western Fair Farmers District. And some of the reasons why a person might want to buy there is, first of all, it's going to fit your price range, so 200 or less. Secondly, another reason is we got some interesting stuff going on. So recently, Jeff, you again just had kind of a private tour out at Kellogg's.
Right, so for the social lab, which Matt runs and I'm a technician in, with the Hungarian experiment, Peter and I went down there, we talked to their social media department. They're gonna have the social lab out to the Kellogg's factory in March or something like that for a soft opening, and then the hard opening in April, and we're gonna be like doing all the games and everything. Like, these are like really important for real estate investors, because like the areas are going to start appreciating. More people are going to drive their cars in this area. More people are going to want to have to work there. More people are going to have to rent from you there. So like these are the things you want to really study. So that's going to be like fantastic.
Yeah, like this Kellogg's project, 100 Kellogg's Lane, is going to be transformative. It's going to become a destination.
Like,
I keep comparing it. Think of, for like people that are from Ontario, think of it as Great Wolf Lodge moving into the Old East Village. That's what's happening.
And my joke is, think of a cruise ship on land.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to know what the Great Wolf Lodge is. Just think of a cruise ship, and you don't have to leave it. Because like your kid will have a bracelet.
Yeah.
Where he's on the jungle gyms, you're at the bar, and he's out of money, and you, with your app, you tap, make more money go to his bracelet.
Yeah.
And it's like an ingenious idea. It's just a fun little. So like people from Kitchener, from Windsor, are gonna drive up and down the 401, rent rooms. So what do you guys need? You guys need Airbnbs in that area. You need rental properties in that area that.
For all the employees
all the employees that are going to be working at this, there's restaurants and bars. And then
in addition to that, there's still plans potentially for a new casino and hotel to be built as well, which theoretically is supposed to bring 700 new jobs as well. In addition, on the corner of Rectory and Dundas in the Old East Village, there's a proposal to go forward to build 2 more towers that's going to bring another 600 units online. So there's going to be a huge intensification of the population, as well as think about the profile of spender or consumer that's going to come down to this cruise ship on land, right? They're going to be middle income or better most often. Right. So that's going to bring a ton of money into the Old East Village. And so I think it's going to be extremely transformative. The next 5 years is going to be night and day, assuming the world and Canadian economy stays on pace with what it's currently doing. Outside of the Old East Village and the Western Fair Farmers District, I think the next one that immediately jumps to mind is Soho.
Yeah.
And so the reason Soho is so fascinating is, again, it's going to reach your $200,000 or less price point. But in addition to that, you're talking about Medallion, who was the first corporation to really go into Kipps Lane and build it up for middle income people. Then went to the Old East Village, built it up for middle income people. Now they're going to be building 2 towers in Soho. Again, my understanding is roughly 600 new apartments in Soho, going to create huge intensification. And the profile of the average consumer in that market is going to be increased, probably closer to middle income versus where it currently is.
Again, come on the limo tour and you get all this.
And you can be spewing that to you nonstop. And otherwise, I think.
I would just say briefly, hit me up. I have listings and pocket listings in all these areas. So
yeah, for multi-family. Yeah. I drag Jeff through these neighborhoods so often. He just constantly is picking up listings. Like you were at one today, and
yeah. So I got for Western Fair District, I got pocket listing there right now, and I got listed properties. They're gonna need a bit of work from you guys, but like long term, you get all the crummy tenants out, and you renovate it, refinance it, get your money back, Airbnb it. You're gonna be laughing when they need when whatever the factory's charging for rent for a hotel room per night, and you're doing the Airbnb hustle. For families that are coming down. But you're saying,
and then so Manor Park was the third one I was going to recommend if you have a budget of under $200,000.
I want to comment on that too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We talked about it earlier in the show, so just back to that if you didn't catch it. But we were talking about Storm State Brewing and all the other cool things that are going on. But
just wanted to say you've picked this number potentially because the bank told you that's what you're qualified up to. When you get into multi-family properties and they have leases. And we're looking at like triplexes now and fourplexes, and the properties make money. you can afford more than you think you can afford. This is, oh, do you have pre-approval, or your realtor's asking you that before he takes you out to this $300,000 triplex? Well, there's potential you could afford that, so don't maybe cut yourself short at this $200,000 budget.
Yeah.
Single family, yeah, you're probably relatively screwed on that unless you're just buying a leased single family house.
Yeah.
But you can show that lease to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can do more than you think.
Yeah, that's a great point. That like, just if you only got one opinion on the financing and you didn't really explain what your whole goal was, definitely reach out to that banker or mortgage broker and talk to a couple others. Feel free to talk to the guy that bought us lunch on Sunday night, Joe Kiefer.
Just message me. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we got a couple of questions from a French viewer. His name is William. So what do you guys think about investing in Quebec? And then the other question would be, real estate is a lot about connections. Which is the most important contact you could have for your team when you start out? A broker, a contractor, banker, agent, maybe?
Yeah. In English we have to respond? Or
yeah, in English, yeah.
So I was saying there's Quebec City's got crazy like new builds going on right now.
Oh yeah.
Like some of the tops in Canada.
So like, I'll just talk in general. I'm not overly familiar with the Quebec market. That being said, I don't see a huge difference between Quebec and Ontario per se.
I think easy to cover it is follow the beginner steps that we're saying here. If you can find the 1% there, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Other than, I think one thing to be aware of is I'm pretty sure they started meddling really hard in Airbnb in Quebec. So if that was going to be your angle, definitely be aware of that.
Well, I've always said, at least, and I think you concur, make sure the numbers run without Airbnb. Yes. Airbnb can be your little dessert, and then when the cities shut you down, if that happens across North America, then it should still work as a normal rental.
Yes.
Or if that was your business plan, you're in trouble, right? So,
yeah, it's definitely always nice to have multiple exit plans.
Yes.
For sure, absolutely. Otherwise,
Well, I'll talk about the mentor. Get a good agent, but I was gonna say I had a contractor buddy, and that was like perfect for me because I didn't know much. Mm-hmm. I could call him and he gave me like a lot of answers on like easy things now, but like stuff I had no idea about. And he just knew who to call around the city for things. But maybe I'm lucky on that to have my buddy Dean. But
no, I think that he's a fantastic resource. But beyond that, I think that what Jeff's kind of getting at is find, the right answer is going to be different for each person, right? Mm-hmm. If you've spent your whole life working as a contractor, having a great contractor connection isn't going to be as important, right? Maybe you're not familiar with personal finances at all. Maybe you haven't filed your taxes in a couple years.
Everybody's afraid of the tax thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I buy a property, am I going to make too much money and have to pay taxes?
Good problem. When the government taxes you, it's a sign of good things because it means you're making money. But beyond that, it really is going to depend. As a generic blanket answer, I think that, outside of just having a mentor that's awesome, I think having a fantastic real estate agent that's investor oriented, if you're going to become an investor, is the best connection you could have, because that real estate agent that's focused on investors presumably already has a built-in network. They already know a broker. They already know this, that, and the other. Where having a great broker may not go both ways, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think that necessarily a great broker is going to be able to introduce you to a great real estate agent that's focused on investors. Mm-hmm. And same with, they may not be able to introduce you to a contractor or, a home inspector or whatever the case is that you need to add to your team, versus a good realtor should. And the thing is, part of the reason I'm saying a good realtor is so important is because there's a lot of bad realtors out there too. So it's going to take you a while to find a good realtor. So that definitely, if I had to choose one thing, I would choose a realtor first. But at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to your own skill profile and what you have available.
Well, even you had some trial and error on that.
Oh, I burned through so many realtors in the beginning, and some of them were really nice people.
Well, because you're at home and you're like, Mom, who's your realtor? I'm looking at a duplex, right? Mm-hmm. You're 18 now, you're 20. Like, they're just gonna tell you, use Bob. He's the family realtor, right? That might not be the best advice.
Right. Yeah, use your Aunt Patty or your Uncle Tom.
For many reasons. One, he obviously doesn't know potentially investment properties, but he could be older and just not have the energy to deal with how much strain of questions you're gonna have, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Because at the end of the day, you need, no matter who's going to be on your team, they need to be willing to share information with you. They need to be willing to take the time to answer your questions, to calm your fears, to hold your hand, particularly when you're new at investing. And so if the person you currently have on your team isn't doing that for you, I think it's time to at least consider branching out and finding the right person for your team. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Okay, we were getting a little bit to tax advice there. We have another tax question if we want to just lean into it. So how much money do you put aside for taxes yearly after you sell a house?
So you never sell.
Yeah, I've never sold a house, so I wouldn't know what to do. That being said, so obviously it comes down to a lot of things. You know, in the United States, you can 1031 exchange it, so there's going to be potentially no implications on taxes if you appropriately execute the 1031. Otherwise, in Canada, if it's your principal residence, it's going to be capital gains exempt, so you're not going to have to pay taxes. Otherwise, if you've never lived in the property and you owned other properties and you did sell it and you had a gain, then you're just going to essentially have to, like, if you want to be very accurate, you're just going to have to reverse engineer what the actual taxes are you owe, right? So in Canada, currently at the time of this video being taped, our capital gains tax is on 50% of what the gain is. So let's say, nice easy numbers, I bought a property for $100,000, I sold it for $200,000, and let's say I owned it for just 1 year. Just nice, clean, simple. So what that means is I have $100,000 capital gains. Now, half of that essentially is going to be taxed. So that means I'm going to pay taxes on $50,000 of that gain. Then it's going to come down to my marginal tax rate. Let's assume I'm in the highest tax bracket in Canada, so I'm going to be pushing around 50%. So again, I'm going to pay 50% taxes on the 50% of the gain, which means I'm going to need $25,000 to pay the capital gains tax. Now, there's a whole multitude of reasons you may not end up having to pay that much, but real rough basic numbers. But the best way, if you really want to get a fundamental understanding, is go over to CRA.ca or whatever the Canadian Revenue Agency's website is, and jump on there and read the tax documents or talk to a tax professional. Because one thing that really does suck, and I've seen it with clients in the past, is they get to the new year and all of a sudden they realize that they owe a ton of money in taxes and they had no idea, and they either spent that money or earmarked it for other opportunities.
Yeah, you gotta make more money so you can pay your taxes.
Yeah, so it's definitely something to be aware of. That being said, there are ways to also mitigate that tax consequence potentially. You know,
write it off.
Pardon?
Just write it off.
Yeah, you can just write things off. That's how it works. But like, for example, like, it's not unusual for people to, let's say if they're going to flip a house, to live in that flip even for part of the time, right? Like maybe they just live in it for 1 or 2 years, but that has significant tax implications where they're going to reduce their total exposure for capital taxable gains. So again, it's not something that I can just give a blanket answer. If I had to give a blanket answer, I would say take your gain and save 25% of that gain and earmark it for taxes. That would be a relatively safe approach. It may be overkill depending on the exact situation, but that would be a decent sleep at night factor if you wanted that from me. But obviously you guys know that none of this is tax advice, because I said it.
And Lee was the one that asked that question. He chimed in and said that the house actually burnt down, and that's why he's selling it.
Oh, fair enough.
So yeah.
So again, there's going to be other implications there.
All that insurance money.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a long question here, but basically the sum of it is someone's owned a house for multiple years. They're looking at trying to burr it now. It sounds like it's kind of appreciated some. They feel like they could probably get $100K HELOC out of it. But they're short on funds for renovation. Any strategies they could do to try and find some cash to pay for those renos?
Sure. There's a ton of different options, and it's going to come down to kind of the resources you have available. So the first one that jumps to mind is like some sort of line of credit. It's going to be relatively cheap, assuming that you can't get a HELOC on this house or a different property of yours. A line of credit is probably going to be some of the cheapest access to debt. Otherwise, you could do like a private loan, right? I could ask Jeff for $10,000, pay whatever we agree to as an interest rate, whatever terms, use that money, go do it. But what a lot of people in our circle do that are, say, very young, new to real estate investing, but they're very hungry and aggressive, they'll get some of these like 0% down or no payments for a year credit cards where you're not going to get charged any interest, or the interest is so small that it's comparable to, say, what you'd end up paying at a traditional lender. And so same with like you can get like a Home Depot or Lowe's credit card. Sometimes you have the option where you don't have to pay for 12 months. You need to read the fine print on all these options, but like that can be a very interesting way to approach it. You know, again though, I've seen some people do some very creative stuff, and maybe you partner with the contractor that's going to do it, and instead of paying them up front, you're going to pay them more once the job's done and you get refinanced higher. At the end of the day, I think far too many people get caught up in their head thinking there's only one or two ways to solve a problem. You're pretty much limited to your creativity and your imagination. I don't know if there's anything.
Well, just like ask the world, like, and the world will come back to you, right? So maybe that doesn't mean nag everybody, but I mean like just put yourself out there. Like you're looking for this money, you're gonna pay 10-15% annually on it, and you're gonna get it right back in 90 days anyways, right? So.
Yeah, and then otherwise, maybe the alternative is maybe those renovations don't have to cost as much as you think, right? Like, are you focusing on doing strategic renovations that are really going to give you the best bang for the buck?
Living space? Are you doing kitchens? Are you adding bathrooms? Those give you the most on the reappraisals. And when adding living space, add heat to those.
Yes,
obviously.
make it 4 seasons.
That's what they want to see.
Otherwise, like paint and flooring, some of the fastest, cheapest ways to actually really increase the value of the property. And it's shocking, but literally cleaning the property up, right? Like cleaning the landscape, cleaning up the backyard.
That's psychology.
All the debris. But like that still impacts, right?
Yeah,
Appraisal so much.
But Mr. Appraiser going over is, right? Maybe pick the brain of an appraiser if you have that.
That's a fantastic idea.
Because if you're debating against this countertop or the other countertop, this whatever countertop isn't getting you too much higher of a appraiser.
Traditionally not.
They just say kitchen.
So, new kitchen, check. That equals this amount.
And then it's in a wheel, it spins it, and gives you a dollar value.
So I think those are kind of our suggestions, both on how to finance it and maybe how to reconsider how much that rental is going to cost you.
Okay, so we got about 3 more minutes here before we want to head over to.
So it sounds like we're going to be wrapping up in 3 minutes. So if you haven't smashed that like button, smash it right now and share this video, because sharing is caring. It's the only way people honestly find my content these days.
And share it or tag somebody that needs to see this. Right? One of your buddies.
And ideally share it on Facebook or Reddit. Those are the 2 big ones. Those are the 2 big social media platforms that almost all my traffic is driven from. So
Not Instagram?
No Instagram, sadly.
All right, we do have one more question here from our good friend Kellen, and hopefully he's not trying to troll us because I know we kind of got into the episode
Kellen.
with Dan the other week. But do you guys give Christmas gifts to your tenants?
So we did. I've never done that. This year we did Christmas cards to everyone. That's what we did.
I have, and I'm just bad on Christmas this entire year for everybody, not just tenants, but. In the past, I've given them the Weibo vodka before.
Which is kind of cool.
So maybe I do have to go to the LCBO tomorrow, so maybe I'll just knock on the doors and play Santa. I used to do put the Halloween candy out as well. I used to just buy those things. You buy those stupid chocolates for $5, whatever, and then I have a multi-family building where as they're coming out, I would just leave the dish and just as they're going to class, they could just take one. So
cool.
It was
gotcha.
Simple things. You could do all the seasons, some Easter eggs, whatever. And,
at the end of the day, though, that's good for building goodwill with the tenants, but it's much more better just make sure that your properties are running effectively, right?
I've given a lot in dollar value or creative gifts without dollar value, and they've been good to me and bad to me, so it doesn't really matter. But ideally, it's that they're not going to kick holes in your wall because they like you and your property. So that's the thing.
It's a great idea and definitely worth doing. I just don't think you guys know my war on gifts.
I would say too, don't do gift cards, honestly.
Yes, I agree.
I have cleared them out and the gift card's still sitting on the fridge. Or we meant to use that. Because I think that's just a Canadian thing in general now. We're so quick with our phones and watching Netflix. Nobody wants to go down to the movie theaters anymore.
Well, and the big problem is too, that gift card, quickly, if you received other ones, well, who gave me this gift card again? So it's and you can probably take that advice into Weibo vodka.
You can take that advice into friends and family as well, not just your rental properties, but just thanks, another gift card, Chapters, $25, right?
It just disappears into the ether, in my opinion. But I do think a personal touch does help, which is, to me, Christmas cards are fast, easy, cheap. So I think that a touch during the holiday season is potentially a great idea. I just
when I did do the gift cards, and I gotta find a way to not do the gift card, but I took a local spa right by my property. The owner of the spa owns also multifamily property, so that's how I kind of got to know her. And then it was just like, so if you get a pizza joint next door to you, it's pretty easy to buy pizza, you know, or some kind of like tell that guy to like, maybe your tenants get a bit of a discount if they walk in or something. Maybe you can set that up, whatever. But like that just keeps it cool in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
like
I really do like that.
Little vibe,
absolutely.
Good mojo in the area, or juju, or whatever you call that. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Paul's always calling it juju.
Is it?
Yeah,
so,
good juju.
Yeah, like then they're watching your property when you're not there too, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, that's a great point.
Cool.
So
next week's episode, when is that going to take place?
Good question.
So we're going to have a special episode coming out next week. I think we're going to do our Q4 wrap-up episode. So we're going to be drinking. We'll maybe try and do it later for the West Coast people, if that works.
Yeah.
But
what is the Friday? What's the date?
The day would be the 29th next Friday.
Okay. Should be around.
Yeah. Do you guys want to just lock it in?
Yeah, let's just lock that in.
Tentatively the 29th.
Let's lock this in. Tentatively.
So just stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram. We're always giving everyone a heads up.
I'm almost at 10K.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty awesome too. Jump over and hit Jeff up on Instagram and YouTube at Jeff Weibel.
Subscribe on YouTube.
And I'm also racing to 5,000 subscribers. Right now, Social Blade says I'm literally going to hit it on New Year's Eve. It'd be super cool if I just got a little bit of free buffer there and definitely made it. But so sub if you haven't subbed, share if you haven't shared, and smash that like if you haven't liked. Otherwise,
we'll see you in 20 minutes or something.
Sounds good. Light on fire.
Bye.